let's move then to the cybersecurity maturity scale that we've kind of put together. Disclaimer, these are self-reported levels, which I'm sure. I still think we can see some really interesting trends. And we pulled out 5 aspects of the questions that they had answered in other parts of the survey and compared them with who self-reported at these various maturity levels. And we pulled out leadership buy-in and people who self-reported at the highest maturity level, which in our case was level 4. They claim to have repelled advanced threat actors, which is what the person taking the survey believed that to mean, had almost 3 times, were 3 times as likely to say they had a lot of leadership buy-in versus the most beginner level cybersecurity programs. You have the most mature reporting programs saying that asset visibility was a priority at their organizations, as opposed to 31% of the lowest end. You've got 64% reporting that their supply chain was a priority. I was actually kind of surprised it wasn't higher, as opposed to 29% of the younger. You've got, and this is something that I found particularly interesting, you have a whopping 78% of respondents reporting at the max maturity level considering user experience as a center part of their security strategy, as opposed to only 35% of the lowest maturity level. And then finally, you have cloud security, which everybody, that was clearly skewed. A lot of people are considering cloud as a more mature kind of platform these days. It's almost understood. So to you guys, I'd like to pitch the question here. Of those 5, which do you think is the most attainable to work on in 2023 for an organization to improve from level 1 to level 2 or level 2 to level 3 or level 3 to level 4? Assuming they have average amount of budget and some decent but not rock star people.
I think that everything kind of starts with asset visibility, personally. I've talked about this quite a few times. So message is consistent at least. But for those of you who already heard it, we're going to go through it again. You can't protect what you don't know. This is a pretty basic tenet of information security. And so having that visibility into your assets, where they are, and the state of them is absolutely critical. And I can't tell you how often it was that people just forgot about it. Even like pretty reasonably sized organizations with a lot of people are like, oh, that was supposed to be decommissioned, or we didn't know that they had stood this up, or I have one particular organization of we had decommissioned it and it turned back on by accident. It was a real thing, very, very interesting. And so having that consistent visibility across your organization, having that strong inventory, and then being able to act upon that for classification, for vulnerability management, for all of these other things that come with it. That's why that's always my number one. And also just make the comment that, smaller organizations have the best opportunity to fix this because they have the least number of assets, especially the cloud first organizations where most of their assets are actually in Azure or AWS, and they're having to pay from a very small pool of money as they continue to grow. And I hope you continue to grow, small business listeners. They have to keep really close tabs on those assets in the cloud. And of course, Azure and AWS is keeping very close tabs on those because that's how they bill you. So you actually have the most opportunity to fix that when you're smaller. The organizations that suffer are the ones who don't fix that early on, right? Like when they jump from like a 100, 150 person company into, a 500 person company, that's when, you started losing the opportunity to actually correct this.
Now, when you say opportunity to correct this, I mean, are you talking about you can have a giant whiteboard in center and you can just what are you talking about when you say correct it? Because we all need to track things, but what to you would be correcting it in such a way that it could scale to a bigger one? And
moving from a spreadsheet, which is probably how you're handling it at a 100 person company, right, into a proper CMDB, right? That's really the best way to correct this. At the point that you have that number of assets, it is worth starting to invest in that over manually having to take care of an Excel spreadsheet.